As a leader, you need to have some first-hand experience. You're not going to be the one who develops everything for your organization. So getting a feeling of what it can do is very important. And there's actually one aspect where I think that the leaders specifically have a responsibility. And you mentioned this already. You need to create in your leadership team a vision for the AI adoption. You need to create, kind of a policy or guardrail.
Welcome to the Tourism AI podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things at the intersection of artificial intelligence and tourism. I'm excited today because I have a good friend on as a guest on our podcast. We have Andreas Mueller-Schubert. He is the co-founder and CEO of WSI Next Gen Marketing. Andreas is a friend of mine and a partner of mine when it comes to all things marketing, communications, and AI, specifically in tourism, but that's not the only places. So, Andreas, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Yeah, so I wanted to take this opportunity, Andreas, just to talk a little bit about, first of all, I know you've been really busy in the last couple of months, and especially in the last couple of weeks, getting out and starting to speak in 2025 on artificial intelligence. I know you did quite a bit of that in 2024 as well. But why don't we start off just talking a little bit about your most recent speaking engagements here in 2025, where you spoke, who you spoke to, and what I'm interested in most is what kind of feedback you're getting and what people are kind of talking about with respect to AI adoption.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I had two opportunities just in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I was in Grand Junction, Colorado. I was invited by the local chamber. I met the president of the local chamber in a training session that I did in September last year. And she really was intrigued and is using AI a lot. And she invited me as a keynote speaker at the Mesa County Workforce Summit. So that was about a 1.5 hour talk about AI and talking about the general AI, what is AI, but then going into some real use cases and what companies can do to adopt AI and what the challenges are. Got some really interesting discussions afterwards and very good questions during the presentation. And I actually just had a call with one of the participants, really thinking about how to more organized adopt AI into their workforce and work process.
So I'm curious, Andreas, in terms of your presentation and how you approach it, how technical is what you're presenting versus non-technical? Let's start with that question.
Yeah, so I always try to keep it so that everyone can understand. So not going too technical. There's only one slide that briefly talks about how an LLM works and what it does. But I try to keep it high level and I really try to make it as close to what people use today. I showed a couple of applications and examples what we do. That always opens eyes, sharing best practices and experience that resonates with everyone.
Yeah, and I think that your approach probably aligns with my approach in that, I really approach it as I'm a business owner. I'm trying to figure out and navigate these tools myself. I'm trying to figure out how to do this myself. So to your point of sharing what you're working on and what you're doing and how you're using AI, I think that really makes it resonate for people as opposed to I have this sort of joking WhatsApp conversation with my two technical guys called the AI Tech Bros. And it's because we're not at all AI Tech Bros. We're just people trying to execute marketing, but we're trying to obviously use technology to do so. And I think that's a very different positioning than somebody who maybe comes from a data management background or a technology background, and nothing against those people at all. But I think if you're speaking to a business audience and an audience of business leaders, really, I think the ability to speak the language of business is more important than speaking the language of AI. Would you agree with that?
100%. And this event in Colorado was really in front of business owners. And my second slide or third slide is I'm going to say, why is a marketing company talking to you? And I think Peter, you used a similar slide. I show Sam Altman's quote that 95% of marketing in 5 years will be done by AI.
Right.
And I ask, how do you think I feel as a business owner who has worked over 10 years to have a marketing agency that now listen to this? And so, no, I think it's the right approach to put yourself. We are running a business. We go through the same pains as everyone, and we know that AI will have an impact. And I think it's really the question of defining your destiny. And the destiny is with AI or without, or not really being in the leading position. And so I try to convince people it's time to start. It's
Right.
time to start in an organized fashion. And yes, and when I spoke, DeepSeek was big in the press, the stock market had this little crash. But I said, don't worry about these things.
Exactly.
Start what is stable. Start to use what is stable, what people are using since quite some time, and
Yeah.
get used to it. And that's more or less the key message. But don't wait.
Yes.
Wait would be a really big mistake.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, and it very much aligns with the way I approach the topic as well, because I feel like there's so much noise out there and there's so much confusion out there, and actually none of it, has anything to do with actually getting the value out of the AI. And interestingly, I'm currently in the process of updating my 2025 keynote, which is going to be a completely brand new from scratch. There's two slides that are from my 2024 presentation, and I actually start off the presentation with a few photos of me. One of me as an 8-year-old on a bicycle, one of me with my family fishing, and one of me with a group of people that I did Polish dancing with at a camp. And the reason I'm starting with that slide is because the whole beginning of my slide is I grew up analog. I didn't grow up digital. And I grew up analog, and many of the people that we work with, many of the tourism operators and the tourism leaders and the DMO leaders, and these are people who, yes, they use digital tools. Yes, they use computers, but they grew up analog and they use those tools because they need to, not because they're, technology people, right? They're people that are good at meetings. They're good at people, are good at solving problems. They're good, they have a lot of other skill sets. Being super computer savvy isn't necessarily at the top of their list. And so I've completely repositioned my presentation to say I'm like you in the sense of I'm a business leader just trying to manage a business. And then my second slide is me speaking, me doing team building activities, me speaking with clients, right? My entire day isn't sitting in front of a computer trying to figure out how to do coding. But then the good news is that as technology has evolved, it's actually become easier and easier to use, which is the really cool advantage of AI. And I think that's for me the key message I'm trying to get across to people is like, you grew up analog, and when technology started to roll out, it was like underwhelming. It was hard to use. It was clunky. But as technology keeps evolving, it's actually getting easier and easier and better. And now it's just natural language is your tool to actually get the value out of these tools, right? And so is that sort of kind of align with some messaging that you also
Yeah,
try to put out to people?
100%, Peter. And what I'm doing, and I have my whole life I worked in the internet space. When I joined the industry, I started building and helping building internet networks, and then developing internet applications like IPTV, for example, was one of the big areas I was involved. And when I grew up, come back to your example, I had an analog phone, a rotary phone. There was
Right,
I would have never thought about having TV run over the internet. It was
right,
impossible. But if you think, and that's what I use actually doing both presentations, I said, we all have enjoyed the internet for quite some time now. Most of our job relies on it. And this is only 30 years ago when it started.
right,
So now think about the COVID would have happened 30 years earlier. All
right,
we would have had would have been an analog phone. We would have
right,
been in a completely different position than compared to now. So at the beginning, people are often afraid about innovation, but it comes over time and it becomes a major part. And AI will become a major part.
yeah.
It will be in our jobs, in our life, and it's gonna change the way how we live, and it's gonna learning the tool, getting familiar even as a CEO, it's important to understand what the capabilities are so that you can guide your organization with the adoption process.
Exactly, yeah. No, and it's like so again, my whole 2025 presentation is all about actually it's all about it's a message to leaders because when I talk about the leader's dilemma and I'm going to just share some information here and this is actually comes from OpenAI. So I attended a workshop that OpenAI gave and it talked about they did basically this girl Lois or Louise, I'm not exactly sure how she says her name, basically talked about her experience of trying to do AI deployments in 250 of her enterprise clients. Like, so this is like her firsthand experience from 250 enterprise clients. And she found that the four key strategies for successful deployment of AI is Number one, executive sponsorship. So executives need to be fully engaged and supportive of the process. Two, strong project and admin team. So you need a strong project management and admin team
Yeah,
for the project. Three, vocal champions, which, you can argue is probably a vocal champion on the leadership and exec team probably is
yeah,
a really
yeah.
critical thing. And then four, widespread training. So that was her four success strategies for deployment. And then she actually went on and said, here are four less obvious strategies for successful deployment. So these are like not the top line ones, but the other ones. And this is what's interesting. It said execs using GPTs and building custom GPTs. And then leaders encouraging experimentation, and HR is critical to support cultural change. And then it's not just all about GPTs, is kind of the fourth one, right? And so the reason I'm raising these is because, I think that I hear sometimes from clients that are interested in AI adoption saying things to me like, this sounds amazing. Can you go and schedule a meeting with my IT team? And immediately that's like, no, you're getting it wrong right away, right? And IT definitely needs to play a role, and they're important. I don't want to discount their role, but it's not an IT function. It's a leadership function, an executive function, and certainly, leaders and where I'm repositioning the way we're doing things is showing leaders how to use the tools really
Yeah.
well. That's actually how you get them to understand how this now applies and how it's going to change their organizations, right? So is that sort of aligned with kind of what you're talking about and messaging?
Yeah, I think you need to, as a leader, you need to have some first-hand experience. You're not going to be the one who develops everything for your organization. So getting a feeling of what it can do is very important. And there's actually one aspect where I think that the leaders specifically have a responsibility. And you mentioned this already. You need to create in your leadership team a vision for the AI adoption. You need to create, kind of a policy or guardrails. This is important. Which tool can we use as a team? And what is okay, what is not okay? What are the practices? So these kind of guidelines need to be developed by the leadership team, and then you need to also at the same time create an environment of experimentation.
Yeah,
Because AI is not like introducing a next IT tool. AI is something that changes the way how we work. It's kind of, you have your good buddy always available on your fingertip to ask the question,
yeah,
to develop something. This is so fundamentally different. And one thing that I was reading from Ethan Monick, who I follow, he's a really great AI thought leader. In 2023, he wrote a very interesting blog. Everyone is an R&D.
yes,
What it means is everyone is actually evaluating and developing a practice of how to use AI best in their processes. And the real innovation actually comes from the people working in the process. As a leadership, you need to set the vision, the guiding light, but the real innovation comes by the people working and the managers who are right there where things are happening.
that's right. Yeah. So interestingly, so I've been on a journey with my team, and we're on kind of like iteration three of the journey, I would just say, because we're sort of figuring it out as we go, and then we're developing that into consulting practices and teaching practice. So, we keep iterating and making it better, right? And so today, actually, interestingly, I met with my social media team, and we started to kind of develop what we call AI intuition sprints, or AI intuition briefs, or context briefs, in this intuition sprint program that we have. And I basically, had my team on there, and I had one of the team members, the leader of that team, share her screen and we started going through we started just using ChatGPT to kind of create these context briefs and kind of go through the process. And it was a really interesting activity, Andreas, because um, it allowed us to have a really dynamic conversation about, okay, how do we do things? How do you do things? What details do you bring in? You know what I mean? And to your point of what you're saying, it was like each person does social media, but each person does social media a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And what it allowed us to do is have a conversation. And, there was some aha moments, not about AI use in that conversation, but aha moments around, oh, that's interesting that you do it that way. That's a really good idea, right? And then all of that ended up discussion, and those details ended up going into our context brief. And one of the examples of, just to make this real for people, is one of the guys on my team, Michael, said, oh, well, I use ChatGPT to help me create, social media, captions. And in his in his prompt that he uses, because he has a prompt that he kind of reuses all the time, it literally specifically says, make the caption up to 100 words, blah, 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 very specific. And the other team members are like, oh, that's really good, right? And then so anyways, we created this context brief, we created a custom GPT. By the way, we also used ChatGPT we asked ChatGPT to help it create the system prompt, which ended up being super long. And my whole team was like, wow, that is a lot of detail. I never use that much detail. So again, going through the process, learning together, whatever. And then we basically created this custom GPT that's like a social media, content creation GPT. And then we ran it. It's going to be our 15th anniversary this year as a company. And so we're using our 15th anniversary as kind of our test for everything we're doing. And it was amazing, the outputs that they produce. And the reason I'm sharing this story, Andreas, is because to your point is I set the direction. I said, we need to do this. We need to spend time on this. Then we arranged a meeting, and then I just directed them and let them do the work and let them figure it out. And I've obviously been through it myself. And so I already have this system figured out myself. And now I'm kind of in real time teaching my team. And now it's like, okay, now everybody go create these context briefs for your job. Let's come back on Friday and spend some time going over duplicates, aligning things, making sure. And now as a team, we're like moving forward, like really aggressive, really, really nicely, right? So I think to your point is like, number one, I as the leader have to have some understanding about how the tools work to be able to lead that conversation with my team. Two, I need to be able to sort of tell my team it's okay because that's actually not happening in a lot of companies. And then three, we need to put some time aside to actually go through some of these processes and update her. But like, we spent an hour and the entire social media team's like, wow, this is going to save us so much time and it's going to be so much better in terms of output and it's going to be right. So systematically, process by process, updating everything we're doing, and it's supercharging our agency in ways that never thought possible, right?
There's actually a huge opportunity for, let's say, the smaller, medium-sized businesses. It is not as easy to introduce, if you're a huge business, introduce AI easily into the processes. Too many
Yeah.
things are too hard coded. In a smaller company, you actually have the flexibility. It is a perfect environment as a company of this size to really use the innovation of the team, to the closeness, the discussion. Everyone is sitting in the same boat. And as a one thing I think is another big advantage as a business owner in a smaller company, you're still enough involved to understand what's going on. You're not so far away from the working
Yes.
environment. And you can set an example like what you described, Peter. So one thing I'm trying to give everyone in these presentations also, as a smaller company, you have a great opportunity by
Yes.
using this early and really innovating your process. You're going to save in some areas so much time. It becomes so much better because
Yeah.
there's more information available when you make decisions or when you create customer solutions. That is really an opportunity.
It really is. I really agree with you. I think, and in fact, I read an interesting LinkedIn post this morning about a guy talking about how in larger companies, IT departments, have all these. You can't do this. You can't use these tools. You can't. You can't. You can't. You can't. Well, those aren't really kind of concerns that most small businesses really concern
Oh,
themselves with, right?
yeah.
And I we can have a discussion today whether those are even legitimate
Yeah.
IT concerns, but that's a whole different discussion, and I won't get into that. I actually don't really work with larger enterprise companies just for those reasons because it's harder to work with them, right? You're limited by decision making, by IT and policy, and different. There's just different limitations, right? And so I agree with you 100%. So I'm just curious in terms of obviously you give these presentations, you have conversations with people. So I got two questions, I guess. Number one, in your presentation, do you ask people about AI use, show of hands or a survey or anything like that? And then number two, what is your impression of the state of AI use in the audiences you've been speaking to lately?
Yeah, I always start, actually, before I even talk about the agenda, I always, after I said why a marketing company is presenting to you and people get it, then I ask, okay, who's using AI? And then let's keep your hands up weekly, daily, can't live without it. So it's actually more people having their hands up now. Compared to half a year or so, there's more people. I think, and it's proven, employees are using, even if it's not approved. They're
Yes.
using their private tools. That's actually my second question. When you're using AI, are you using your private tools? Are you using free tools? Are you using company tools? So that's, again, a lot of people hands up and then less
hands
less
down.
hands up when you go into the more organized paid or company tools. And my last question is, does your company has an AI policy and vision?
And then all hands go down, right?
I had actually in both presentations two or three hands out of a couple of hundred people,
Yeah,
so it's definitely not standard.
yeah.
And people realize, oh wow, that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I asked the same questions, and even and that's where I started changing my questions a little bit because even when you ask people if they use I like the way you ask it if it's free daily, weekly, because use AI has a lot of, oh yeah, I use AI, but like, okay, what is really AI use? So I actually, the way I ask it is, who uses a free AI tool? Almost everybody's hands go up. Who uses a paid AI tool? And then, like 20% of the hands have been kind of staying up. And then I say, who's ever customized an AI tool, like a paid AI tool to help them do something? And then almost usually then is very little hands kind of thing, right? So even the question of used AI, there's a lot of nuance in what use means, right?
Yeah.
It's very broad, right?
Yeah, one thing that I did in my second presentation last week in Las Vegas, there was a keynote presentation, and then there was a breakout session, which was only 1 hour long. You could do just some limited things, but a little bit deeper was really configuring your ChatGPT account, configuring in the right way, explaining what memory is, and what the custom instructions are, and these kind of things. People have never seen these things, and they're wondering, why do I get this answer? It's a little bit so what I find, which is what is a very nice combination, is painting the big picture and then offering a deeper dive into hands-on. Do some example that last week was the Western Association of Chamber Executives. So it was a group of chamber leaders that came together for their annual conference, and they got the bigger presentation and talking about what chambers can do for their businesses, for themselves and for their businesses. And then we did a little breakout. And I think again, it's very similar reactions when I ask my questions.
Yeah.
Who's using it? Only a handful of people really have a policy and these kind of things. And there was actually a very good discussion doing the presentation afterwards. I already had some meetings following. Is how can we help chambers to help their members?
Right.
And that's actually a very interesting way to think about it. It's at the end, it's all about AI enablement. It's all about understanding. There's so much noise out there, and people getting really concerned and don't understand. It's even hard for us to sometimes follow what's going on.
Sure.
But helping with the meaningful introduction of AI, I think that's a really big area that's super required.
Yeah. And again, I think there's not enough people that have that business lens to it, right? Because at the end of the day, and again, my whole 2025 presentation now is like, okay, like you're the leader of an organization. To your point, some of your staff are using this, some of them are not, some of it's all over the place. There's inconsistency. They may be scared to tell you they're using it, so they're using it on their phones at home or their computers. Now they're bringing in company data to home computers. There's all kinds of stuff going on out there, right? And so, as a leader, as an organization, at a minimum, you need to kind of get a handle on what's happening in your organization. And that's not really enough, right? I mean, like you need more than that. So,
I was actually reading a report, I don't know who did, was last year in fall, that the adoption rate of AI in companies had actually slowed down. And
mm,
one of the major reasons is because employees don't know what is okay and what's not okay.
right.
And that's really a leadership responsibility.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. So, I mean, I keep saying my kind of repeated key messages is there's never been a more important time for leaders to lead. And it's like, it's really, I feel like this period of time in history is going to be one where great leaders lead their organizations to amazing things that have never been possible, and leaders who sort of don't take the bull by the horns may not exist, unfortunately, in the next couple of years. Like, I think
Yeah,
there's going to be that stark of a difference, unfortunately. And I'm not trying to be a doomer or a fear monger. This is just my read of the situation, right?
yeah, I have to agree with you.
Yeah. All right, well, let's switch gears a little bit. we also have some exciting news to announce formally, I guess. And we have been talking about partnering together now for, I think it's been a little bit over a year, Andreas, in terms of more formally coming together as organizations. Obviously, so just for everybody's background, Andreas is part of the WSI network, which I'm also part of, and we met. That's how we met, and we both serve clients in the tourism space and economic development space and that sort of kind of area. And Andreas is in the Napa Valley in California, and I'm in Calgary, Canada, obviously. So while we have several overlapping services, there's also certain things that Andreas's agency is particularly strong and good at that my agency is not as good at. And we have certain services that Andreas doesn't offer as well. So, we through the WSI network and some of our collaborations then partnerships there, we talk more and more. And it became very clear to us that coming together formally and creating a partnership where we can kind of collectively serve our members and come forward with really, Andreas, what I'd call a really full service digital marketing, public relations, website development, and AI consultancy practice. Is that fair description?
100%, 100%. And it's you're both active in serving companies in the destination tourism area. Being in Napa Valley, there's a lot of wineries that sprinkle in and tour companies. I know that you have some. So we are serving the same kind of clients. And as you said, our service offering is pretty nicely augmenting each other.
Yeah.
So we created something together.
We created something. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So we have a new website. It is nextgendestinationmarketing.com. And it's a pretty beautiful website and Andreas's team built it. So when I talk about, our different agencies have different skill sets, we build websites, but they are really a top tier website development company, build some amazing websites. You can really see it when you go to this destination marketing.com website. It's stunning. So congratulations on building a beautiful website. Thank you for
Thanks, Peter.
and
It's not me,
yeah,
it's my team.
yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We just lead, right? We have this wonderful website and really tells a beautiful story about their team and about our team and our teams coming together and creating a team together so that we can, really come to the market and serve the destination clients and some of the tourism clients and economic development type clients with a really comprehensive, fulsome suite of services. So I'm really excited about it. I mean, I think this podcast is our soft introduction. We're going to do some press releasing and some other things coming kind of alongside with this. But yeah, I mean, can you tell me a little bit, Andreas, just about sort of your vision for, I guess, our partnership and the types of clients that we'd be looking to go attract with our stronger offering together.
Yeah, one part of the internet address is next generation, next gen. And I learned this when I was working in the high tech area in mobile. We were talking on second G, third G, and already people were talking about 4G. And I said, there's always a next gen. And the next gen is actually a very nice tie to the AI that we
It is.
discussed. That's the next generation. And in marketing, it's so important. Remember what I said, 95% of marketing AI will do or support in the future. So it's really important to tie this directly into the AI, the tourism AI network, Peter, that you founded, really helping our clients in the tourism space to adopt and use AI, use AI for marketing, use the traditional marketing services like social media or email marketing or websites. There will always be a website. The interface might be different. You
Yeah,
know, chatbots we discussed, these are all things that are changing the way how people interact with information. But the fundamental need of people to find information about the destination, about the service they want to enjoy, doesn't change. So
right.
it's the interface. And we want to be always on the front end of the interface and leading it. What are the newest areas? And I think that's where the next gen comes in. And then, yeah, destination marketing, that's a core focus of our businesses.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. And I'd say what excites me about this partnership, Andreas, is, obviously we both have the ability to offer services to our clients and obviously coming together we can strengthen those service offerings and make them more robust. But I think the opportunity for, innovation and really leading the charge on what does a destination marketing website as an example or a destination management organization website really look like in the future and us bringing our collective brains and our teams together to really think through and challenge kind of the status quo and really bring innovation to the table. I think that's what really excites me. And I know you and I have had several conversations on this front already around, you mentioned chatbots, but I have, for context, a vision of a chat, the chatbot we've been talking about. My vision is, you have this chatbot, you have this ability to talk through it on your phone through audio. Once the conversation's over, the chatbot, thanks, hey Peter, thanks for your time. Send me your email address and I'll send you a full itinerary and on the back end, there's an
Yeah.
itinerary builder and there's a summary and you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that I think is possible now, and we're going to build together so that we can really, come to the market with really unique service offerings, which is pretty exciting.
And I also think what we're going to see, staying with the website example, but it's going to be across several solutions, is what you see, Peter, and what I see at the homepage, or maybe in different pages, will be very personalized in the future.
Yes.
We already see this today. My Amazon homepage or Netflix homepage is different than yours because these companies know what I'm watching, what I like, and they're going to show me what I watch and what I like.
That's right.
So I think that there will be a trend that we have much more personalization that we're going to see on these areas, and I think then the smart AI chatbot comes in, maybe talking to my electronic avatar, already know what I want, and they might create some magic for me, which we cannot imagine today. But I think there will be a lot of changes in our user interface in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And in fact, I think that the entire way we interact with websites is basically just going to be we're going to talk to websites, get the information we need, right? I mean, generally speaking,
100%.
and then like I said, get the automated email after that summarizes it, or that, you know what I mean, whatever, or an automated proposal, or whatever,
Yeah.
depending on the situation, right? So it's exciting. So I mean, that's for me, I think the opportunity to really bring two really innovative agencies together with some focused effort around innovation for our clients, kind of learning from what we're doing together, best practices, all those kinds of things. That's really what excites me a lot about this partnership. I mean, there's many things that excite me, but I think that to me, that's the cherry on top, right? So
I know that you are working with some amazing destinations and tour companies and these kind of things. And at the end, we're humans. We like to travel. We like to enjoy this. It's like actually really interesting to work in this industry and help this industry in making a difference. It's very interesting when you work with the destination. We just built a nice website for one of the destinations here in Napa Valley, and working with the leaders and understanding how they differentiate what makes them special, you learn a lot.
yeah.
It's very interesting, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. The other point I wanted to make sure we touched on in terms of our partnership together specifically is, really, you have a very, very strong SEO offering, as do we, and I know sort of a content development offering, and then we're also a PR agency, and so, really, again, bringing our heads together, thinking about the future of search and making sure that we're, presenting our clients with really, really meaningful and impactful tactics in the AI powered search era, right? So everything we've been talking about. I mean, so, I know that we've been talking about some good ideas related to that. And again, bringing innovation around content marketing and making sure it's multimodal and using AI tools to their greatest advantage and using PR and brand building and all these different things, right? So I think the ability for us to, again, bring our individual expertise and things we're really good at, and combine them together to bring our clients with bring forward to our clients the
Search,
services they need in 2025 to succeed, right?
yeah, 100%. And Peter, search is actually a really interesting example where also AI and our behavior to change the way how we interact with information sources, be it Google or others. It's more a conversational chat. And what's interesting, what's happening more and more is that we will use more AI-based search, where the AI, and you can do it today in the search. And now the question is from our service, how does all of this impact the SEO activities that we do?
Yeah.
And when you really think about it, what is really important, I think there's a great marriage of our services is actually, brand mentionings are so important in the whole area of SEO. And digital PR, what you're talking a lot, is really helping immensely with this.
Yeah.
The more your brand is mentioned on the internet in all kinds of different areas or reviews or whatever it is, the more AI will take you seriously.
That's
So
right.
it's really building this kind of brand awareness throughout the internet is a very important element of future SEO success.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And just on that note, and again, this is will be included in our partnership and our offering to clients, but we're really taking a podcasting first approach now, and that really speaks to what you're talking about, right? So, number one, it's creating your own podcast is possible and fairly not too difficult these days. I think every destination probably would benefit, honestly, from having a destination podcast, everything, but also just getting out and getting your clients out on podcasts, other podcasts, right? And getting those brand mentions because they're guests on podcasts. Because if you think about it, in this AI era where the people that are doing SEO content poorly are just going to use AI tools to create content at scale. And cool. But like we're going to get to a place pretty quickly where humans are going to be craving the voices of humans and the input of humans right and so tools like podcasting are really good avenues for that. Audio, YouTube, right? Shorts, all that kind of stuff, right? And for us the podcast is easy because you can easily just we're doing it right now. We're having a conversation, right? We can turn this into 10 different modes of so it works really well and it's efficient and effective, right? So that's kind of what we're doubling down on. And again, I think in terms of a service offering that we can bring to destinations, really help them through that, understand that we have a lot of experience with the tools. And as an example, we do the podcast or we support the podcast for the BC Tourism Industry Association, amongst others, right? So we have a proven model, we know it works, and so we're excited to bring it to other destinations.
And I think you said it in the world of a lot of AI created content, we humans will crave human content, original
That's right.
content. And we want to hear this guy with a strange German accent. It's going to be
Exactly.
hard for AI to mimic this.
Exactly. Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, really exciting, obviously partnership. We're going to be rolling it out. We're going to be talking about it lots. It fits perfectly with our 15th anniversary. It fits perfectly with your 10th anniversary. So I mean, I think the stars are aligning for us, Andreas. I'm really, really excited for 2025 and beyond. So awesome. So before we go, I just wanted to ask you what's next for you in terms of do you have any speaking engagements coming up? Do you have anything kind of sort of on the horizon?
Yeah, definitely. Out of last week, there's actually a lot of activities coming, and I have a couple of calls this week. Last week was perfect from that perspective. Speaking in front of 400 members of different chambers. And that was very, very important. And yeah, my calendar is going to be filling up, and I think it's great opportunity to share what we know and to help businesses. I think that's the most important part. To start opening the eyes of business leaders and people to say, okay, how can I start in this confusion that's happening all over the place? And every
Yeah.
day is something new, but what is really what I can build a business, and when you build a business or introduce something into the business, it needs to have some stability. You
Yeah.
cannot flip flop every 5 minutes. And that's why it's so important to have these opportunities to present and talk and just share best practices. I think the more best practices we can share and people can adopt, the more successful it will be.
Yeah, and I think the simpler you can make it for people, and I shared this in my last episode of this podcast, but in early 2025 we made a decision because we had so many tools and so many like I was paying for 15 different AI tools. And I said, this is crazy. I use one of them, or two of them. So we've now kind of doubled down on ChatGPT and we've doubled down Notebook LM, which is a pretty amazing tool as well. And that's it. I mean, I shouldn't say that's it, but those are our core AI tools and each serves a specific function. And we're spending all of our effort just learning how to use those to their greatest advantage.
We happen to
That's
do the
the key
same.
part of it. You're doing the
We
same?
happen to do the same. Yeah, we
Yeah, yeah,
Notebook LM is a very interesting solution. Then, all the AI note takers and all this kind of thing,
yes,
ChatGPT. It's a good thing that we reached a point, and I agree with you. There were so many tools to play around, but now it's a time. This is stable, and this will have a future. It's time to build on and learn with it. There's so much innovation every day, more or less coming into the tools. If you played 2 months ago with it and you started work using it, it's different. You have
yeah,
to be on it. And which brings us back when we talked about the leadership of a company. Stay with the time and
yeah.
understand what's possible and give some good ideas and intriguing examples to your team to do it.
Yeah. On that note, have you spent any time with ChatGPT's new O3 model? Have you played around with it at all?
I have, But I was actually very close to go to the pro version, so I really want to explore some of the new things that we will have pretty soon. But I used a lot the O1 and also the O3 for, I had some pretty critical questions to answer for a big advertising campaign and doing some research. That was really interesting when you see this the tool is starting to think and outlining. I'm doing this and I'm looking there, and it's really interesting. You don't get the immediate answer, but the immediate answer is not always the best one. You need some deep thinking. So I got some amazing market research results just yesterday out of it.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you say that because that's again today when we were doing our little session with my team, it was, notice how they took your little prompt and what it turned it into in terms of its own prompt. Like that really starts to teach you how the tool works, right? And how the
Yeah,
tool thinks and what the tool needs to succeed. And that's what we call AI intuition, right? It's like, okay, you're using the tool, you do this thing, and then boom, it's showing you its reasoning. You're like, wow, you know what I mean? And then the output is like, wow. So
absolutely. It's
it's
very interesting.
the best way to do it, right? So I mean, it's a pretty remarkable tool. It's pretty amazing. So nice.
Yeah, and one tip I'm giving when we have the little breakout sessions, or so there's nothing wrong to ask ChatGPT or whatever tool you use to ask, what should I give you as an input so that you give me a better
100%.
result? You typically get a pretty good guiding
Yeah.
line and you can just use it.
I always like to joke around that unlike a human, AI will actually just give you the answer without any without being a loaded answer or any kind of, feelings behind it, right? So it just tells you exactly what it needs, super like succinct, point form or whatever format you want. It's
Yeah,
really that's the way I use AI every day, honestly. Like, what do you need? How can you help me do a better job, right? Help me help you, right? And it really works well.
100%.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. Well, those are some good nuggets of tips at the end. So, Andreas, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And so excited to come out with this partnership with you guys. Really excited for the future. Let's make some good things happen.
Me too, Peter. Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Tourism AI podcast. To learn more about the network or get involved, visit our website at tourismainetwork.com or find us on socials at Tourism AI Network. We'll see you there.